Hey there, thank you so much for listening to Something Super Spiritual. My name is Jeffrey Peck, and I am a psychic medium. If you are seeking conversation with loved ones on the other side, or discussion about spirituality, life after life, and anything in between, join me as we discuss all things spirit. We are collectively experiencing a spiritual awakening right now and recognizing that we are much, much more than we once believed. We don't die, and life doesn't end. We are eternal spiritual beings living in this crazy 3D virtual world of existence. Let's talk about it.
Hi.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Good.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell me your origin story. Like, have you always been intuitive? Have you always been psychic? What was it like when you were little?
Well, I would say that I have always been very intuitive, empathic, I think, as many mediums are as children. I was always very, and always have been, very interested in, ghost stories and all of the paranormal stuff as a kid. I loved when there would be psychics on talk shows. That was my
Yes.
favorite. I'd come home after school, and if I knew there was going to be a psychic on a talk show, I would definitely tune in. But I think I didn't exactly know how it all worked as a kid. And so it was challenging to be very sensitive and open and feeling so much about other people. But
Yes.
in terms of spirit, I wouldn't say that I have a ton of childhood experiences that were very obviously spirit communication. That came later. So, yeah.
Was it
But
spoken about in your family? Did your
it
parents?
wasn't a thing. No,
Okay.
I wasn't raised religious or anything like that. There was never like a taboo around it. My parents are both very spiritual in their own ways, but no, it wasn't discouraged or encouraged in any way. It was yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the impetus in life? When did you finally figure out, oh, this is what's happening?
Hmm. Well, I would say it was after my grandfather passed away. So I had lost other family members and friends and grandparents in my younger years and teenage years. But when my grandfather passed away in my 30s, that was the first person that I lost that I was close to, and that was the first time where I really started questioning, wait a second, where did he go? What, what, where is he now?
Mm-hmm.
And I always believed in the afterlife, of course, but I think I had some beliefs that weren't necessarily in line with how mediumship worked and what the afterlife experience is, what I have come to believe is really like now. And so yeah, my grandfather passed away. It was about 2 years after that I reached out to another medium for my own reading. And while I was there, a lot of pieces clicked into place of like, oh, this is how this works. I just didn't know how it worked.
Sure.
So, learning from that and then going home and researching like crazy,
How old
I
were you?
realized, what was I, 32?
Oh, okay. So you got it later
Yeah.
in life too. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been about 6 years now that I've been
Mhm.
doing this full time, and it happened very quickly after that.
Mhm.
And so yeah, a lot of pieces connected. And now looking back, I can see that I had been searching for kind of my purpose all this time. And I always knew when my grandfather passed that we would be closer after he passed, which never made any sense to me at all. That's a really weird thing to say, right? Wait till someone dies to be close to them. Never made sense, but I could feel that intuitively. And that's the way it is now. Yeah.
That's awesome. We have quite a parallel experience
Do
because
we?
my grandmother passed in 2002 and we were really, really, really close.
Okay.
And I too, I had this just knowing that she was still around, she was still here, she was, just on the other side or heaven or whatever anybody wants to call it. And I knew the relationship didn't end. I knew that it continued on with me, and I would talk to her all the time, and I just felt that relationship and that bond continue to grow.
Mhm. That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so I get that. Yeah, I that's interesting. Okay, so afterwards, when you started to put two and two together, you said that you were starting to research and read. Where were you guided?
Well, I took to the internet,
Okay.
as as we all do these days. For me, I knew that this was going to be something because, on top of the reading and everything that happened there were just a lot of synchronicities happening in my life. All signs were pointing to learn about this. But I'm very skeptical. I'm very independent, I suppose is the way to put it. And I didn't really want to learn from someone, and I didn't want to just read a book and take it as the ultimate truth and
Totally.
believe that, and then develop like bad habits or
Mm-hmm,
things that
mm-hmm.
just didn't actually fit for me.
Yep.
So what I would do instead of like reading a ton of books was just listen to interviews of other mediums
Mm-hmm.
and how it went for them and what it was like for them. And YouTube, there's tons, podcasts, whatever, just like this. And I would tune into their experience and see, is that how it feels for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I really just asked for spirit to guide me. I didn't want, like I said, I didn't want to train with anyone just yet. And I feel that was exactly right for me.
So when you ask spirit to guide you, do you remember the synchronicities that kind of fell into your path that like tell us about some of those synchronicities that are just magical, you know?
Yeah. Well, so I started to see hawks, and so now I call Hawk my spirit animal. Whenever I would say, give me a sign, am I supposed to do this? It would be like not just a hawk flew by, it would be like a hawk would land on a tree 5 feet away from my face.
And
So they
stare at
were
you.
very obvious signs. And, I would say, am I supposed to help people with this? And 30 seconds later, I would get a message from someone asking for help, with
Oh,
energy healing. Or so it was very much just immediate. It,
yeah.
it it was a time, I wish it was still like that. It's not always like that now,
No,
but
no, it's
it
not. You're
was,
right.
you come in phases, it comes and goes when you feel super in alignment, right? But there were just so many little things like that I couldn't ignore it. It just felt like a presence. It just felt like this, when you kind of sit in the power and you have that loving energy surrounding you. It
Totally.
felt like I had two spirit hands on my back, pushing me forward gently, but saying, you can't stop, you have to keep going, you have to keep doing this. So that's what I did.
Oh, that's beautiful. So can you explain your first, like when you opened up, when you finally realized what was happening? Can you remember your first real experiences with spirit?
I can, very vividly,
Yeah, tell
actually.
me about those first experiences because um, they're so magical and they're so meaningful to us in our journey as we start to like open up and open our eyes to there's this big aha, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So after this reading that I had and this crazy research that I was doing, when I say research and learning, it was like I wasn't sleeping because I was
Yeah.
like super obsessed. And I had come to just believe that, okay, if they can do it, so can I. I have a brain, I'm a spirit in a physical body. I'm just going to believe in myself, but I still hadn't actually done a reading.
Yes.
So here I am, like walking around calling myself a medium, but I'd never actually done it. And so one day I was at the beach with a friend, and our children were swimming, and I didn't know her super well, so I didn't know everything about her. And she just asked me what I've been up to. And I told her, well, I think I'm a psychic medium, and I've been learning a lot about that lately. And it wasn't, of course, you sometimes have to choose who you share this stuff with based on how you think they
Totally.
might react. But she was very intrigued, not her everyday thing, but she said, oh, I'm intrigued. And I said, would you like a reading right now? I'm like, oh my God, why did I say that?
Oh boy.
So instantly I closed my eyes, and I had a flash in my mind's eye of a sunflower. And so I just said, I'm seeing a sunflower. And then right away I saw a flash of a birdhouse, and I said, I'm seeing a birdhouse. And then after that, I felt this presence of a woman with me, an elderly woman. And in my mind's eye again, a flash of a body part that was black. And I knew that this was just symbolism for she had cancer in her uterus. And
Okay.
so I just said that to her. And I had this full body experience of this is true. And I opened my eyes, and my friend was crying. And she said, that's my grandmother. I just sent my grandfather sunflowers for his birthday yesterday.
Oh,
And last year I sent him a birdhouse. And my grandmother had uterine cancer. And so, it was that quick. It was over because we both started crying, and I was like, oh
yes.
my gosh, what just happened?
Yes.
And that was it. But I knew without a doubt, like, I didn't make this up. I wasn't pulling it out of her mind,
Mhm.
It was very magical. The feeling, and I'm like, I almost have that same feeling now just talking about it,
Yes.
of touching someone else's soul, and a spirit person coming and touching my soul like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was instantly addicted. Like, you can't, I don't think, get that feeling any other way in life. And to be able to be in the middle of that,
Oh,
I'm sure, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the best feeling.
It is. It's really indescribable because we participate in miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle, and
Mhm.
when our soul is blending with that other soul, and this soul to soul communication is happening, just like you just said.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's.
Right?
Mhm. I mean, I can't even find it's everything. I can't even
I
find the
know.
word.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's so beautiful. Okay, what happened next?
So from there, again, that kind of like invisible force of keep doing this, keep putting yourself out there. I was invited to do a group reading. So again, I don't even really remember how all these pieces fell into place, but it was like, oh, I hear you are practicing this. Would you like to come practice here? And so it was a small group. It was just five of us.
Mhm.
Um, and it went from there. Honestly, I did that group. I left there knowing, like, I'm not making this up. I'm not crazy. This is real. 5 different people were, like, moved by their readings. It wasn't just general stuff.
Yes.
And so you know, I started putting myself out there on social media, and people were showing up right away. And so I know that that's not always the best advice for every medium,
Yes.
but I do feel I wouldn't have been guided to do that if I weren't ready,
Completely
and
agree. Yep.
if it weren't the right time, right? And it's not like as if I didn't have any kind of spiritual, like, I was already doing Reiki for 15 years at that time. Like, this was already a huge part of my life, but
Yes.
just the how I was using my sensitivities showed up, and it was like, boom, let's go. So
And it just shifted. It just shifted from
yeah,
Reiki to mediumship.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's what happened
And
with
same
me.
with you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah, you had the Reiki story too. It's the gateway. Like,
Oh my gosh. I mean,
I want to tell
seriously.
people, yeah, if you want to develop your psychic abilities, do Reiki first. Like,
Hmm.
just do that. get a sense of energy. And yeah, we have a very similar story, don't we? I love it.
I do too. It's fascinating because although I think most people that I know, colleagues, friends, mediums, psychics doing this, it seems like most of them have the story of, oh, I saw my grandparents in my crib.
Yes.
But more and more and more of us are experiencing similar stories like what you and I experienced with the Reiki. Some people open up, after a serious trauma, because a death in the family or a serious illness, or maybe a near-death experience, or you know what I mean? It's like there's so many of us that are just coming into this contract that we have had before we got here. And when it's time, heaven will knock on your front door, and if you don't answer, they go to the back door, and if you don't answer, they're banging at the windows.
That's so true.
It is true.
Yeah.
So okay, I think it's amazing that you so quickly you went into a group setting. That's incredible to me. It's incredible. I mean, and just so strong about it, so courageous about it. My first, I started consciously, even though I opened up over 15 years ago, I started consciously working with the mediumship 3 years ago. And after barely 2 to 3 months of practicing, I was at a platform class in Los Angeles, and I was terrified. I mean, terrified. So kudos to you for just like, hey, I can do this, because my heart was racing. I mean,
so was mine. I mean, I get quite nauseous, and I still get nauseous. So now I know, like, that's not going away. So for anyone, struggling to get past that, like waiting to not feel those physical reactions, your heart rate, your, butterflies in the stomach, that's probably not going away. I'm sure you still have that, right?
So when I started through COVID, when I was like, okay, I got to get in front of people, I got to start practicing with groups. So I started practicing with groups on Zoom. And the first one I did, there were 5 of us, just like you. There were 5 of us. And I was terrified. I mean, I was so terrified before it started. I was like feeling like almost like faint. I've never fainted, but I imagine I was probably close,
Yes.
My heart was racing. I was sweating. I was seeing like little stars in my vision, and I sat down, I just took some deep breaths, and I did it, right? I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. And after that, I said, all right, heaven, here's the deal. I will continue doing this, but you have got to take this away from me. You've got to take this away from me. And I have not experienced it since.
Wow.
I get nervous. But I think the nerves are good. They keep us on our toes, right? The nerves keep us on our toes, but I don't experience that fear. Oh, that debilitating fear is gone. So
that's great. Good.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's really helpful.
And do you feel like the kind of like nerves or that kind of rush of energy is actually spirit, and we are adding to that?
Yes.
The unknown, scary thoughts.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's meant to be more of a feeling of like excitement.
I was going to say that. Absolutely.
It's the same. They're the same.
I think it is excitement that we're feeling. Our little self, the ego, is, what's afraid and panicking, spiraling on your inside. But that doesn't have to happen, because when you are able to reframe it as excitement, not only that, one thing I have come to understand is, because we are so sensitive, we're picking up on the feelings of the people in front of us too. And those people, those sitters, are nervous and excited and have anxiety. Who's going to come through? If they experience trauma with somebody and they're afraid that person might come through, that's, they're not, And that made a lot of sense to me, when I was like, oh, I'm because we're super empathic, we're super empathic, and we're dialed in to these people with the intention having been set when we made this date, right? So we're feeling it all. And I think it's coming to really realizing, okay, it's not all me. It's not all mine. I don't need to feel all this. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to be nervous. And I know that when I show up, Spirit's going to show up, and it's all good.
Yeah. Spirit always shows up.
It's amazing. Speaking of Spirit showing up, what is life like for you in normal life? Like when you go to parties, when you're out and about, when you are touring a really old castle or abandoned building, you know what I mean? What's life like for you when in with that?
I would say pretty normal for the most part. I think, having the advantage of this coming on later in life, I had all those years where I'm sure there were things happening, but I wasn't consciously opening up to it. So for the most part, super normal. I would say definitely, the old buildings, I get really queasy and all of that. But I think I have really good boundaries with Spirit, and Spirit really respects that. I'm not bombarded all the time. I think if I'm going to bed at night and thinking about a reading that's coming tomorrow, sometimes I'll have the awareness that someone might be standing beside me, just kind of checking in, on trying to learn my mind ahead of time. I have had those experiences where there was a woman who was coming the next day, and her husband was in spirit, and he was there beside me, and I could tell he was so excited and so desperate to speak to his wife that he came early to be sure that I could see him. I've had those experiences, but it's never about them, trying to bombard me or anything like that. It's about, I know she's going to be okay with this because there's a reading tomorrow, and I just want to make sure it'll work. Things like that. Yeah, a gathering with a lot of people, I do feel overwhelmed often. I do feel that I need to kind of zip up my energy, if that's the way we can say it. But I'm not looking. I'm I do a lot of readings in a day. So by the end of the day, I'm not looking to do that. So it's off, right? Like the switch is off.
Yep.
Yeah.
I completely understand.
Right.
When he showed up the night before next to your bed, so that happened to me too. When I was getting started, but no, not by the bed. So I would have readings lined up from say 11 a.m. to 2 or 3, just one right after another. And they would show up, they'd line up when I was in the shower. So I'm in the shower and and they're all like, hey, and there's a line, and I can just sense there's one right after another, like a single file line. And I can see, man, woman, woman, man, woman. And I see, the identifying factors. And it was fascinating to me because they were lined up in the order that my readings were set up for that day.
I've had that too. I have had that too. Not for a long time, but I remember that. And in the shower.
Yeah.
Like the craziest thing. When I was in the shower today, I was like, I can't start every reading like this.
I know.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. That's so good.
It's
because it shows you when that happens, when you're not trying to connect with spirit. It shows you that our loved ones are reaching out to us all the time, right? And they do know what we're doing. They can see us. They do know that you have a reading scheduled and that you're hoping to hear from them.
Yep.
And they are making efforts to get our attention, even if it means showing up when the medium's in the shower. Like
absolutely. I'm all, hey guys.
They don't care.
No, they don't. Not at all. And I didn't care. I'm like, all right, we'll be getting together in a couple hours.
Yeah.
I love hearing experiences with other mediums and what their days were like in those moments, because it's so common. It's so common. And and yet different. I mean, we all have different experiences, but it's like that movie. What is that movie called? The Same Kind of Different. It's it's the same kind of different as me, and it's similar, but it's not. But then it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, okay, so what is your feeling and your connection with spirit guides? Do you feel like that you have a team on the other side that works with you, that helps you, that nudges you and guides you? What's your experience with them, and how did you get to know them?
I do have some guides that I occasionally work with. I don't I don't rely on them a whole lot. I did in the beginning.
Hmm.
And I had 3 that I felt were very involved in guiding me as a medium. But I don't necessarily, I've heard other mediums say, I ask my guide to let the spirit people come in, and my guide will get them lined up for me. And I don't have that. I don't have that experience. I do have, and it sounds weird, but it feels as though it's my future self that is also guiding me here now. And so a lot of times I will reach out to that version of myself, whether that,
I love
you
that.
know, yeah, and it feels like me a really, really, really long time from now. Like when who knows what humans look like. I don't know. There just seems to be a very far away feeling with her. But when I ask her, who are you and all of this, she just says, I'm future you. And I wonder sometimes if a lot of our guides really are just versions of ourselves, and they show up in some sort of archetype
Yes.
way so that we can, recognize them, or attach a certain meaning to what they're helping us with. But I don't really need that, I guess. I
Hmm.
think there are times when maybe I'm going through challenges in my own life where I do say, okay, I need a sign again. I need something. But I think of my guides as whoever these invisible helpers are guiding me. I don't need to know. I don't need a name. I don't need to see them. I just feel that. And that's how I work.
I love your description about your future self.
Hmm.
Like for me, when I feel into that, I I f- I have something similar. I have something similar with myself. For me, I see it as more of my soul, my pure self, the wise, pure sense of spirit that we are.
Hmm.
That coincidentally, not coincidentally, well, coincidentally, feels very similar to what you were saying. Feels far away, feels really far away, really big,
Hmm.
really wise, and um, yeah,
Higher
again,
perspective, higher
absolutely,
self.
completely
Yeah.
high self, soul, future. Yeah, it really makes
Yeah.
sense. Again, it's that same kind of different. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
exactly what we were
Yeah.
just saying. It's the
I
same kind
love
of
it.
different as me. Yeah. Um, how do you feel? So this is a question that I get often. So I'm wondering, what is your belief after so many readings and all of this spiritual experience? What is your belief that the other side is like? Like, where do we go? What are we doing there? What's happening? What do you think?
Well, I believe that because we're non-physical at that point, that we are very free. And I envision unlimited possibility.
Truly
I,
unlimited.
right? I have a hard time trying to visualize I don't think we can, as physical humans, I don't think we can visualize what a spirit looks like, because I don't think they look like anything. So when we're connecting with someone who did live a physical life, they're just showing us an image of that. I
Yes.
don't believe that's what they still look like, right? Because they
Mhm.
can show up at any age.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
sure you've had someone show up as, someone in their 30s when they were 80 something when they passed. I've
Yes. Yep.
had that. So I know that, they can show up however they want. I feel that because time is an earth thing,
Hmm.
it's very hard as well to picture, did someone, when they passed, did they need to go through some healing? Did they need to, and then there's that whole life review situation, which
Hmm.
I find hard, because we're looking at like, okay, well, they passed on, April 27th. And so would they be done their life review by now? Like, it doesn't work that way. Like,
No,
trying to like trying to put it into
it's
earth
not linear
timeline.
time. There's no linear
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's
So I
really,
struggle with that, just because I'm here in this body, right? But when I have meditated on that, or have been shown certain things, it's like I feel this like spherical movement, spiraling, graceful, beautiful, soft, bright energy that is the container, but not a container, but you know what I mean,
sure.
for all of the cool stuff that can happen, all
Right.
of the beautiful things of the earth, all of the miraculous,
Yes.
pieces, but not pieces, because it's all connected and we're all one and there is no
Hmm.
separation. But yeah, and you can't say place, because it's not a place. It's not far away. It's all right
Oh
here.
my gosh, you are saying a mouthful because it's true. It's so, first of all, it is so hard to wrap our human brains around, right? We
Mhm.
have we have these experiences where we need a description. And I don't know that we could truly describe the magnificence
Mhm.
that it is. Uh-oh. Can you
Yeah,
see
we
me?
can't.
You good?
Don't
Oh, there you
bother.
are. Oh,
Like,
yeah,
just, yeah.
we're good.
Sorry. Is that my internet?
I don't know. Could be mine.
Okay. Hopefully that
Um,
doesn't happen again.
that's okay. No, we're good. Yeah, we truly can't
Hmm.
describe with words the magnificence that it is. And I love that you said, like the life review. You think they're done yet? Like,
Yeah.
can we see if they're
Can they come
available?
through? Yeah. I know. And that's the unfortunate thing, is sometimes people have had readings with other mediums where they've been told, oh, sorry, they can't come through, they're still in
Oh,
life review, or they're not ready because they're going
no,
through a healing phase, or something like that. And it's just a shame, because it's not like that. I've
no,
never experienced that. That's just an excuse, in my opinion. And so, yeah, we have to not try to have all of the answers to what does go on after we pass. If we had all those answers, I don't know, would we even bother coming here in the first place? Like, there's gotta
exactly.
be something that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just making sure that we are open to the fact that there's too much for our brains to understand, and that's okay. But that everyone, in my opinion, has gone to the most beautiful place that you can possibly imagine. And so that's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Yes. And speaking of time, speaking of time, so I have had an experience where a friend of mine passed, let's say on a Thursday. And on Saturday, boom, he was right there. And and he's trying to get my attention, and I can sense him, I can feel him, and it's like I just have to say, I'm okay, I'm totally okay, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay. It was tragic, but I'm okay. And in that moment, I found it really incredible because he was 36, I think, and his parents. Now, it had only been 2 days, so they were in the throes of shock and, oh my God. And, um, and in those moments where, he's taken to wherever they go to be prepped for however we're going to do the service or whatever. And he wanted to be cremated. So one of his parents wanted to honor that. The other parent wanted him to have a burial. So they were having arguments within that 48 hours about what they were going to do. Now, they were in Phoenix. I was in the Bay Area, and I'm in my kitchen doing my thing. And all of a sudden, boom, he's there. And he says, they're fighting over what they're going to do with me. Tell them I don't care. I'm totally fine with whatever they're fighting. Let them know right now. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like dropping everything, and I'm reaching for my phone. I'm texting my friend. I'm like, are his parents arguing about what they're going to do with his body? He needs them to know, stop fighting and let them know he's okay with whatever. And so my friend Gus gets a hold of his sister and brother-in-law, and they were in the midst of an argument, and they were like, and the first thing they said was, oh, he saw us fighting.
Of course.
And I mean, it was truly, it was amazing. So having explained that story, what are your experiences with the ones that have happened so quickly?
Well, I have had some experiences like that where someone's come for a reading, not knowing that someone had passed.
Yep.
And so I'm describing who I have here with me, a man, whatever. He was showing me something about his nerves and muscles and things like that, and just specific things. But she couldn't place this man. She couldn't figure out who this was. And it's hard in a reading when you can't place the person because you're trying to do an evidential reading. You're not, you want to know that the information is going where it should, but you also have to be okay with, okay, well, let's give this some time. I'm sure this will make sense. And we moved on. And, get a message the next day. He just passed the other day and I didn't know. Things like that where when you don't know someone has passed and you just happen to have a reading and they're coming through just within a few days of their passing.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I would never want to spring that on someone, right?
No.
And to me, when she messaged, she said it was very comforting to know that he was reaching out to me already. And I think that's pretty great.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I often find myself wondering, so, they may have passed a day or two ago or that morning, and bang, suddenly they're coming through us. And then there are the others who passed, years ago that still haven't come through. And the person in front of us is asking us why.
Yeah.
And
that is a mystery.
Oh, it is a mystery. And, and I don't believe for a second that it is for reasons like you were talking about earlier, that they're busy in a healing camp or what's been told, oh, well, they've reincarnated and they're already here somewhere. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
But I think that we just continue to move on, right? We continue to learn and grow and do our thing. And the universe is unlimited, and we could be having the time of our life. with whatever plans that we can't even conceive of in this mortal brain.
Yeah.
And then boom, there's a time and place and the right medium, and they're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting to kind of like think about, how do they know that this is taking place, other than, of course, always being connected through some thread of
That's it.
love,
It's the thread of
right?
love. That's how
Yeah.
I see it. That's
Yeah.
absolutely how I see it. I
And
see
whether or
it.
not you would say in life that it was about love, right? Because there are
Mhm.
times where someone comes through and the person doesn't want to hear from them.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
it's the bigger kind of love, right?
Mhm.
The beyond the human resentments and troubles and all of that.
Mhm. Yes.
It's the love that was there as part of all of that. Yeah.
The soul love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it like how I see it. It's like a guitar string. That love never dies. And when we are connected with somebody through that string of love, when the guitar string is flicked, it vibrates all the way up and all the way back and all the way up and all the way back. And I see it like when we yearn for them, when we think of them, when we smile over them, boom, that guitar string is plucked,
Mhm.
and they immediately know. That's how I see it. They immediately know.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. Just one sec, Jeff.
Okay.
Someone's just come into my office. I muted myself, but no one's there. Never mind.
Oh gosh.
I swear the door just, did this happen last time?
I heard it. I heard it.
No
I
one
totally
there.
heard it. Yeah.
Nobody there. That's good.
That's awesome.
I'm in my little closet office
I love
because
it.
it's like cocoony, right? And I'm
Yes.
trying to make sure there's no background noise, but I'm like, is that somebody coming in my office? Okay, sorry.
Okay. So what is your take then? I also get this question. What is your take on reincarnation?
Yeah, another big question, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a thing because energy is energy and energy doesn't stop and energy doesn't die and all of that.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily see it maybe the way that we usually think of it. Like, I definitely wouldn't see one soul being like a separate soul or spirit only being in one life and then only being in another life and just doing that. I feel like because we're part of a bigger, energy or God or whatever, spirit, like spirit, the big spirit,
Right.
we can have like this splitting off. I feel it more as it's spirit just focusing its energy in one spot, and we are attached to that as like an identity of, this is me, this is Jeni in this life. But I think we can have access to other lives and other timelines and don't necessarily have to call it mine. Like, I think that's why so many people will say, oh, I was Jesus in a past life. Like, if Jesus was one person, I'm just using this example because it's super popular, right?
Yes.
Or Cleopatra, or something like that, where they're a known figure. It can't be all of us if we're only living one life, right? But I think that we can tap into past lives and future lives, much like I feel as though I can connect with my future self, right? So I don't think that if we do, let's put it this way. If our one spirit does go into another life after, I don't think it's right away. There has to be that part that remains behind, that holds the memories of the life lived, because you and I are communicating with those spirit people all the time. So, I've had people come through that died more than 50 years ago. So what is the timeline? What
Exactly.
and again, there is no time. So it's tough. It's really tough. It's another one of those things that I don't want to have a set belief
Exactly.
that we pass, we stay in spirit, we heal, we, wait 500 years and then come back. I don't want to go about it that way because it just doesn't feel right. But what I do know is our souls have experienced more than just this and will continue to experience more than just this life.
Agreed.
And that's kind of just where I leave it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. There are some people out there who look at reincarnation like a revolving door. Like we die in this life and we get there and through the revolving door and come right back.
Yeah.
I don't feel that. That doesn't feel right to me.
No.
Obviously, the work that we do, we're still connecting with these personalities, these people, the people that they were. But the soul is more than we can even comprehend, right? And I do believe that we have access to all of those lives, like you were just talking about. Like the way that I see it, I'm going to go back with another analogy, like the guitar string. So the way I see it, it's like the soul, our soul is like the computer hard drive. And each life experience is just a file within that soul,
Yeah.
And so our soul comes for whatever experiences we need, for whatever growth, for whatever healing, for whatever movement. But being individual, like you were saying, that it's an individual soul for each different life and each different experience.
No,
that doesn't make sense. That just doesn't make sense.
There's the bigger, I don't know, would we call it an oversoul or something like that? I don't know, right? But yeah, I try not to get into the very strict beliefs of this is how it is.
Exactly.
You can't.
It's true. And a lot of people, what I've learned since 2006, when I was attuned to the Reiki, I mean, there are no black and whites with spirit. There is no this way or that way or the highway, because it's so massive and we're going on with our mortal life, getting through what we're getting through, trying to place everything into a little box with our little judgments of what everything is or should be, Was that something else going on over there? I heard it.
Yeah, the door again. I guess maybe it's wind. I don't know. Sorry. Continue.
Oh, no, that's okay. I love the thought that it's spirit.
It might be.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so do you have any thoughts, inspiration, anything that you'd like to impart on people who have not experienced sitting with a medium, who might be interested, or who just might be coming into their own spiritual experiences? Do you have any words of wisdom?
Well, I would say that, first of all, the belief that you are loved and supported and surrounded by spirit all the time is a good place to start. And then go from there, right? A lot of times people think, well, why would anyone come through for me? Or, I don't know if that's true for me because I wasn't close to someone in spirit or something like that, right? Start there. That, like, just commit to trusting and believing that spirit always has your back and is always supporting you, and your loved ones are always reaching out to you no matter what happened in life. In terms of reaching out and having a reading, maybe it's your first reading. Make sure you're ready. Make sure that you are open and not not coming into it with a bunch of expectations of I must hear X, Y, and Z, because that doesn't always work. And opening up to your own abilities, or if you were wanting to just to feel more in tune or become more. It says internet connection is unstable. Sorry. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, I got you. Yep.
Sorry. Again, it's that sort of like surrender, I guess, to letting things unfold without you needing to. Your tattoo. I was like, is this some sort of sign? No, yes, surrender, right? I love that. That is a big message. Yeah, just surrender, because don't create resistance about things. We're not always going to know the answer, but there is always something, a higher power, spirit, whatever you want to call it, supporting you. Ask for signs, right? Ask for a sign, ask for guidance, and then get out of the way and let it happen.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. This has been awesome.
Thank you again for listening to the Something Super Spiritual podcast. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend. For show notes, links, and to purchase a mediumship reading, my website is somethingsuperspiritual.com. You can also easily subscribe and follow the show on your favorite app, sign up for my newsletter for bonus content, and to keep the conversation going, you can easily join the Facebook community. It's all right there at the website, somethingsuperspiritual.com. Signing off for now, namaste.